Arkansas.
All right, Mark, thanks very much. Appreciate it. John Chambi, Fran Fraschilla here in San Juan, Puerto Rico. Our third place game, the inaugural O'Reilly Auto Parts Puerto Rico tip-off, and just getting started, VCU and Arkansas.
In some ways, these teams mirror each other because of the full court pressure. Of course, both coaches have worked together under Billy Donovan.
Turnover, Arkansas basketball. So the pressure being applied early by the Arkansas Razorbacks. The number 18 Razorbacks against VCU here at Coliseo de Puerto Rico, our third place game. John Chambi alongside Fran Fraschilla, and a turnover there. And Fran, the first two games of this tournament, 58 turnovers for the Razorbacks.
They are averaging one turnover every 3 possessions this season. Now, you want to be in the one turnover every 5 or 6 possessions. And that's not been the case for Arkansas, and it has driven John Pelfrey nuts early.
They'll go up against one of the top guards in the country, and Eric Maynor here in this one. Will Famini spin move, had it stripped, and saved there by Famini. Shuler pulls the trigger and drills the 3, and VCU on top.
This is a team of tweeners, John. Jamal Shuler, one of those guys. A lot of guys between 6'3" and 6'7". Very versatile, athletic, and they come at you with energy.
See the pressure by VCU. Kick ahead to Welsh. Hill with the feed. But the lefty misses. Thomas regains and lays it in.
Where Arkansas has an advantage will be physically up front on the front line.
TJ Quinn and the foul. He'll go to the line.
6'4", another one of those tweeners.
Our starting lineups, Maynor and Shuler in the backcourt, undersized Famidi, Anderson, Dongo. No player bigger than 6'7". Size not an issue for Arkansas. Hill at 7 feet, and Welsh and Beverley in the backcourt. And really, of the two of those guys, Welsh and Beverley, neither a true point guard.
No, they don't really have. Gary Irvin sitting down. The starting lineup right now does not have a guy that you can rely on to take care of the basketball.
TJ Quinn. And Quinn not able to knock down the free throw to make the 3-point play, and VCU leads early by 3. And the pull-up jumper there good by Sonny Weems.
You're almost better off pushing it if you're Arkansas, getting a shot up and let your big guys go crash. Good job there by Patrick Beverley.
Jamal Shuler feeds across. Anderson rejected, and they call an offensive foul as Charles Thomas stepped in.
Now, I've described this team as a team of tweeners, VCU. They're going to come at Arkansas on the front line, but this is a terrific block by Stephen Hill, a guy who's already 3rd all-time on Arkansas's career block shot list.
Beverley pushes ahead. Charles Thomas. Feed to Hill. Down low. 7-footer lays it in. Stephen Hill, a guy who was the SEC Defensive Player of the Year a season ago. A bit limited offensively, but contributes there.
8 of 12 on the season, but every shot is near the rim.
Pressure applied there. Shuler calls the timeout. Arkansas up a point early on. We'll take a 30-second break. Back with more from Puerto Rico after this. Stephen Hill and the Arkansas Razorbacks leading early. John Pelfrey, a win and a loss in the first 2 games of this tournament, but overall not happy with their play.
And I know they practiced at least twice yesterday. It could have been a 3rd time. I saw them on getting off the bus last night at the hotel, but a renewed sense of energy from this team early.
How about the athletic move by Shuler, but Thomas the board. Stephon Welsh, the sophomore from Virginia. Beverley can hit that, and does. Patrick Beverley, freshman of the year in the SEC a season ago.
One thing I like about Arkansas, they're keeping it simple. They're not trying to make the home run pass. 2 simple passes, 2 easy baskets last time down.
Pressure clearly bothering VCU, and a foul called right there on Charles Thomas. Fran, a season ago, one of the reasons Anthony Grant's team was able to go far, they took care of the ball. They were 10th in Division I and fewest turnovers at 11.3.
That's a great point, and that's mainly because of Eric Maynor, their outstanding point guard. But remember, Arkansas defensively early in the season has been outstanding.
Yeah, defense hasn't been the problem. Taking care of the ball has been the issue. And that shot knocked down by Will Famini. And it's 9-7 early. Arkansas on top.
You can see that pressure coming after the made field goal.
Stephon Welsh. Short on that shot. It hit the shot clock. And it'll be Rams basketball, down 9-7. Michael Washington, the 6'10 sophomore, to check in. Again, with Michael Washington, Darian Towns, Stephen Hill, and Vincent Hunter, 4 guys 6'10 or bigger that all get significant minutes for John Pelfrey.
We talked about if you were able to make trades, John Pelfrey would trade one of these big guys for another guard. I know Marquette could use a big guy. Maybe Tommy Crean would chip him one of those backcourt players.
Nice look by Weems as he connects with Michael Washington, and Arkansas leads by 4.
Sonny Weems had 6 turnovers the other night, but he's kept things simple early. And you get a sense there's more of a sense of purpose from the Razorbacks in this 3rd game of the tournament.
VCU last year beating Duke in the 1st round on Eric Maynard's jumper. Maynard hitting that J and giving them a 2-point win over Duke. Feed down low, Will Famini working on Darian Towns. Shot clock at 3. Pull up there by Shuler off the mark. And swooping in for the board is Sonny Weems.
Excellent half-court defense. There's a turnover.
Maynard ahead. This is Shuler off the glass. Can't get it to go, and the Razorbacks the other way. And a carry and a turnover.
That situation, Patrick Beverley did not have the numbers. 3-on-3, didn't need to turn it over there.
Under 16 timeout, John Pelfrey's team up early 11-7 on VCU. Yesterday, an off day for all 8 teams in San Juan. The VCU Rams enjoying their time as they get a chance to walk around Old San Juan, take in the sights, and soak in a little bit of the history. And I know, talking with their coaching staff, they had a good time with that. John Pelfrey's group up early by 4.
Yes, they are. You know, it's interesting. John Pelfrey said after the loss to Providence, it was the most unenjoyable thing I've ever been associated with as a coach. 32 turnovers. And remember, he's trying to institute an up-tempo style to complement the pressure defense. Last year, they averaged 71 points a game. And with a team that didn't really push it, this year they're averaging 64 with a team that wants to run.
So right there, they are really struggling to adjust to the new style, at least early on. VCU handling the pressure here. Jamal Shuler going to reset and give it off to the junior Eric Maynor. Last season, 5th in the nation in assists.
Little 2-3 zone here by the Razorbacks out of the press.
8 on the shot clock. Shuler deep 3, and that's short. Weems will watch it go out of bounds.
Little harder to make that shot when you have a 6'10 player on the wing closing out on you. Razorbacks are holding teams to 26% from behind the arc early in the year.
Beverley being double teamed. This is Michael Washington, and Gary Irvin has checked in. Weems 3 off the mark. Beverley saves it off of Maynard. A nice play there.
You almost would rather Sonny Weems shoot the 3 semi-contested than for Arkansas to make 7 or 8 passes around the perimeter, because they will rebound offensively at a high rate.
Towns gives off Patrick Beverley. He talked about the possibility of transferring after Stan Heath left. Gary Irvin, as we mentioned, wearing number 0, checked in. He's the senior. He's 24 years old. Wanders into the lane, kicks out Weems.
Another rebound.
Darian Towns this time pulls it down, and they'll reset.
You get the sense that they're turning Sonny Weems and Beverley loose as opposed to trying to do too much.
Follow there, and the Razorbacks with Sonny Weems getting the tip. It's a big group for John Pelfrey.
That's the old story where a missed shot is actually a pass to Washington or Towns.
Jamal Shuler feeding down low. Will Famini going to work on Darian Towns. Famini, little spin move, kicks out. Shuler looking for space. It redirects underneath, and a foul called as Michael Anderson ended up with it. 13-7, Arkansas leading early. College basketball continues tomorrow night on ESPN2 and ESPNU with both semifinal games From the O'Reilly Auto Parts CBE Classic, first 7 Eastern ESPN2, it's UCLA and Maryland, then 9 Eastern ESPNU, Michigan State and Missouri.
We're going to see so many of the good young freshman big guys this week. Kevin Love tomorrow night. We'll be with Michael Beasley and J.J. Hickson at the Old Spice Classic in Orlando. Kansas State and NC State freshmen.
J.J. Hickson the other night against William and Mary, 12 for 12 from the floor.
Well, Michael Beasley's averaging 30 and 20 right now.
Anderson knocks down the rebound, and Kirill Pishalinkov checks into the game.
VCU has a very strong connection to CSKA Moscow, the basketball club. Their sports leadership program on the direction of Dr. Richard Sander really has a nice relationship, and that's how they got the big guy to come across the water.
Joey Rodriguez is checked in as well for VCU. Pressure on Irvin trying to step through, and he's called for the travel and a turnover. Gary Irvin didn't start tonight. He has 8 assists and 10 turnovers on the season coming into this one, and that's the reason why.
Well, there's no question about it, but it's not all on him because the front line coming in, John, turning it over at even a higher rate. So, you know, the pressure is on him to take care of the ball.
Maynor finds Rodriguez, and now Famini. They'll reset with Eric Maynor.
You remember Maynor's heroics a year ago against Duke, and then in the Colonial final against George Mason.
Will Famini again working on Towns. Off the glass, no good. Pishalinkov with the rebound. And a shot clock violation. VCU not able to get a shot up in time.
The dangerous thing for VCU, when I said they're a team of tweeners, I mean that as the ultimate compliment. But the tough part is when you play against a team like this, a power conference team with a huge front line, they've been unable to score early inside.
Lob pass, Towns the flush, and they got a little lucky there because Darian Towns didn't even see the pass.
You may have found the secret.
Famini having trouble, gets it ahead.
Oh, an elbow.
And an offensive foul on Larry Sanders, the freshman from Fort Pierce.
Well, Arkansas keeping it simpler here. The little lob up to Towns and the finish. They've done a nice job of, it's almost like judo. You turn the pressure against the opponent and attack them at the other end of the court. They've done that well so far. 2-3 zone now by VCU.
Patrick Beverley handling here and gives off to Gary Irvin. John Pelfrey very open about the fact that he says his Razorbacks lack guard depth. Arkansas has been to the NCAA tournament, eliminated the first round each of the last 2 years as they were beaten by USC last season. Welsh has his three-pointer blocked, but Towns picks it up. And moving in for the board, Joey Rodriguez, the 5'10 freshman from Oviedo, Florida.
Boy, good pressure, the way they trapped the ball out of Maynor's hands. One thing about Arkansas, their defense has been outstanding, and it's been outstanding, John, the entire early season.
Now the baseline, Sanders can't get it to go. How about the work by Famini, but it's off his hands. Arkansas ball up 7. 11:38 to go here in the first half. Anthony Grant, the VCU Rams, trailing in this one by 7. Starts tomorrow. Fran, you and I will be part of Feast Week starting Thursday in Orlando for the Old Spice Classic.
That'll be fun. Thanksgiving dinner with you in Disney's Wide World of Sports. And we'll see some good clubs. In fact, we'll see George Mason at the Colonial, who will rival this gentleman's club, probably at the top of that league. But watch out for Northeastern, who just gave Maryland a scare the other night. Wilmington will be better.
Arkansas early on with 4 turnovers, manageable, right, compared to what they had the first 2 games.
They've got about 20 possessions, 4 turnovers, so 1 every 5 possessions is obviously a big improvement over the 1 every 3 possessions first 3 games.
Pressure here, stepping in, Pishalinkov, and a steal. Shuler kicks off to Joey Rodriguez, who will set it up. Eric Maynor on the bench right now for VCU. Ed Nixon, the freshman. Irvin steps in with the steal. Gary Irvin to the glass and lays it in.
Anthony Grant's dilemma is he's got a good mix of old and new. He's got some talented young players that he's got to get playing time for, but this is outstanding pressure defense.
A deflection, so no backcourt violation. Rodriguez gives off to Pashalnikov, the native of Russia, working against Hill, and he traveled. The turnovers have been a problem early. John Pelfrey, his team has defended well, and the pressure has worked so far.
And I think particularly because VCU has had really a lot of trouble, John, getting the ball near the basket and trying to score against the length of this front line.
Stephon Welsh to Charles Thomas, and Irvin will set it up for Arkansas. Thomas trapped in the corner, but finds Beverley. Beverley looking for help. 10 on the shot clock. 5 on the shot clock. Good look down low, and Hill might have had it partially blocked. It'll go the other way.
That's one of the problems Arkansas has as well. Big guys finishing near the basket.
Shuler to give off to Anderson, but he's fouled.
You know, one of the things that people talk about when you talk about Arkansas and you think about the big front line, and you know the criticism they've come under for being what people consider underachievers. We watched them for 3 nights, John. I just don't think these guys on the front line are all that skilled. And if they were, they'd be in the NBA by now. The fact that they're all seniors, I think, tells you something.
Hill sits down with his second personal. Shuler, little floater in the lane, can't get it to go. Pashalnikov missing the layup. He'll go to the line. Franny, you surprised that Eric Maynor hasn't played more in the last couple of minutes?
Not really. You know, he's had a couple good games in this tournament, but we've also seen, you know, he's coming back in the game now. What I like about Maynor is he's an outstanding distributor, but he only shoots slightly over 40% from inside the 2. Not a great outside shooter. Probably his greatest attribute is as a leader on the floor and a playmaker.
Irvin will sit down. You saw Joey Rodriguez sitting down for VCU. Rams trailing by 8 so far in this one. Washington pulls down the boards. Patrick Beverley, the Chicago native. Anderson pressuring. Shuler comes for help, but Beverley gets rid of it.
VCU doing a great job of trapping all ball screens.
Weems off the dribble, got it. Sonny Weems.
He just needs to keep it simple. Make the simple pass, shoot the open shot, put it on the floor no more than one dribble.
Arkansas again with that pressure. Jamal Shuler had it blocked from behind by Beverley. Push ahead, Darian Towns. Maynor back. Missed the layup. The tip. It'll go. Sonny Weems plus the foul.
That's why you run the floor. The defensive stop. And then the kick ahead. Towns doesn't come up with it, but Weems in the right place. John Pelfrey trying to instill a full court philosophy. Hadn't taken hold yet, but good example right there of what happens when you run end to end.
Sonny Weems at the line going into last season. He was a huge recruit for Stan Heath. He was considered the #1 junior college player in the nation. He had led his junior college to the national title. And last season, just under 12 points a game.
It's a good test for Maynor because Arkansas does come at you with good pressure.
Welsh stripped it away. And it'll stay VCU basketball. Eric Maynor has not attempted a shot yet tonight.
Well, on the season, he has struggled early in terms of his field goal percentages. Only 1 of 7 from behind the arc.
Maynor, the preseason player of the year in the CAA. Conference that's improved and been one of the top mid-majors out there. There's a turnover as Weems stepped in for the Razorbacks. CAA that saw George Mason make that Cinderella run to the Final Four a couple of years ago. They had their hearts broken by VCU and Eric Maynor in the championship game last year.
Sure did. 9 points in the final minute 50. Maynor bailed out the Rams. Jim Larranaga said Eric Maynor ruined his summer.
Darian Towns can't get it to go. Washington does. Michael Washington, and the Razorbacks lead by 14.
That might be Arkansas's greatest strength offensively right now. Get a shot on the boards and go after it.
Offensive foul as the Razorbacks doing it on the defensive end.
Whoa.
Washington scooped to the hole. They get the block there. He got bailed out. He's a little out of control there.
And I thought he wanted the first down. He just put his head down, went right to the rim.
7:52 to go here in the first half. VCU struggling offensively. Arkansas by 14. Puerto Rico's been super so far. Arkansas leading 23-9 back here at the Coliseo de Puerto Rico. The inaugural O'Reilly Auto Parts Puerto Rico tip-off. John Sciambi and Fran Fraschilla. Well, Coach, what does VCU do? Only 9 points, 7:52 to go. How do they get back in the game?
It's got to come off of their defense. Remember, they trailed Miami 36-21 in the first half of that game. Second half, they made the run. They're not scoring anything near the basket because of this front line we talked about. This is where tweeners have a problem. We talk about the tweener teams. This front line of Arkansas doesn't make it easy, so you've got to get some stuff off your defense. And obviously, we know that the game plan early was to try to turn Arkansas over, but Arkansas has done a reasonably good job of managing the ball this first half.
Washington misses that one. VCU and number 18 Arkansas. The O'Reilly Auto Parts Puerto Rico tip-off, third place game. John Sciambi, Fran Fraschilla with you. Razorbacks by 15. They've taken care of the basketball so far in this one. Meanwhile, for VCU, no assists and 8 turnovers early.
Oh, I like what Arkansas is doing. They're trying to deny Maynor the ball and make someone else in the offense handle it.
Maynor, a 3. Got that one. Eric Maynor's first shot attempt is good.
Only 2 of 8 from the 3 on the season. That's not really his strength. See, if you're VCU, even if you don't turn Arkansas over, you at least take some time off the shot clock.
Box out down low by Jamal Shuler, and Maynor will push it into the front court. Rams down by a dozen. Shuler being guarded by Stephon Welsh. Jamal Shuler, the senior from Jacksonville, North Carolina, almost loses it. And now TJ Gwynn. Over the back there, Will Famini going over top Darian Towns.
John, you notice all the double clutching and double pumping that VCU is doing in the lane, and that's because of the length of this Arkansas team. Think about this, too. Arkansas, we've seen come out very prepared today, and partly because they know the VCU offense. A lot of the similar type sets picked up under Billy Donovan. It's almost like an inter-squad scrimmage between John Pelfrey and Anthony Grant. Makes it easier to prepare for a team.
Gary Irvin into the front court. And almost a turnover. Arkansas leading early. John Sciambi alongside Fran Fraschilla. You mentioned Billy Donovan. And, well, we have him on the phone line right now as he joins us on the broadcast. Coach, first thing, beating Rutgers. Career win number 300. Congratulations for that. Got to be exciting.
It was. I've been fortunate. I got a very, very good group of young guys that are working hard, and certainly feel very, very fortunate to have had that happen last night. But really, probably more of a reflection on just coaching a lot of good guys over the years.
Hey, Billy, I know we'll talk about your team before you leave, but tell me this. Think back to Marshall, 1995, and you hired these two guys, John Pelfrey and Anthony Grant. What comes to mind?
Well, the first thing is just their character as people. I think a lot of times in coaching, people see people on the sidelines, but you're talking about two of the greatest guys in the world, and Anthony Grant and John Pelfrey, both family guys. They're good people, great core values. I think anybody would want their son to play for people like that, and was very fortunate at 28 years old that I could hire those two guys because they were absolutely terrific in the job that they did for me and their loyalty, and then the relationship we've been able to develop.
How closely do you stay in touch with both of these guys during the season? They're not necessarily young coaches. They've got a lot of experience, but do you guys talk often?
You know, we do. I try to, let those guys do their own thing. They're their own men. They run their own programs right now. But from a friendship standpoint, certainly we talk and we speak a lot and sometimes talk basketball. But, without question, John is somebody that's very, very close to me. Anthony is somebody that's very, very close to me. I'd have to say that Anthony and John are probably two of my closest friends in life.
Billy, you got a chance to get connected with Anthony Grant when you were recruiting Allen Edwards. Anthony Grant was an assistant at Miami Senior High, and eventually you hired him at Marshall. What stood out back then when you first encountered him?
Well, I think the biggest thing was the way the people at Miami High talked about him as a person and the respect level, the way the players talked about the impact he'd made on their lives. You could tell with Anthony, there was a guy that had an incredible amount of presence with the kids. He also, I think more than anything else, there was a great level of respect for him, not only basketball-wise, but as a man. And, if you don't know Anthony Grant, he's a guy that's got great core substance and values. He's a terrific guy. He's a great father, a great husband. He's just got the total package. And, it was very evident to see that when I went down and recruited Allen Edwards. I got a chance to know Anthony a little bit.
Hey, Billy, before we let you go, you've got 3 freshman starters. You've got 5 guys in double figures. I know it's been it's an interesting year because you lost some great players. What's it like coaching this team?
Well, Fran, you know how it is. There's some ups and downs in dealing with a young basketball team, but I've enjoyed these guys because I really think the biggest thing I can say about them is they're coachable. They want to get better. They want to listen. They want to learn. There's certainly going to be growing pains because they're going to have to go through some different situations, but the biggest thing I think any coach would want is a group of guys that wants to be coached, wants to be taught, wants to work, and I think that's what we have. We have a good base to work with these guys, and we certainly have a long way to go, but I think the first part is them being coachables is a good way to start off with such a young group.
Coach, good to talk to you. Thanks for coming on the broadcast.
I enjoyed it, and I hope both those guys do well tonight.
All right. Billy Donovan, head basketball coach at the University of Florida.
They can't both do well because unless we play for ties here, someone is going to get a loss. But really, both of these teams, I think VCU, obviously, we've seen enough of them, John. They're going to be a force in the Colonial. And John Pelfrey is just building a little bit different culture. Stan Heath was somewhat successful here, but John Pelfrey wants to do it a little bit different way.
So it's not a throwaway. I think that for the struggles that Arkansas has had so far and VCU when they've had them, the one thing that's been constant on the positive side, both these teams play hard. Down low and a travel on Michael Washington. Early on, Arkansas leading by 8. Billy Donovan, you see the disciples and Grant Pelfrey, Donnie Jones as well.
Donnie Jones back home in the Huntington area. His wife's happy. Donnie's probably watching this game tonight, and he could probably care less who wins. That's the hardest thing about when you're sitting where I am and all your friends are coaching, and it's the last minute of the game, John. The only thing you're worried about is Outback staying open till 10.
Drive to the hoop. That one off the mark from Jamal Shuler. Kick ahead. Beverley ahead of the pack. Maynor sees him go into the glass, and Patrick Beverley 2 more. Arkansas's lead is 10.
Nice outlet pass by Towns. Patrick Beverley, who played for Jerry Wainwright this summer on USA's silver medal team in the under-19 World Championships. See, they're face guarding Maynor right now, and they're forcing someone else to handle the ball in the offense.
Dongo with a feed down low. And that one off the hands of Lance Kearse. And a timeout on the court. Lance Kearse, the freshman, 28-18, 3:20 to go first half. VCU down in this. Thanks very much. Number 18 team of the country here in Puerto Rico. Arkansas leading by 10. And we were mentioning earlier, Allen Edwards seated on the bench just behind Anthony Grant. Allen Edwards, a guy with Miami ties, went to Miami Senior High, and Anthony Grant coached him in high school. And now you've got a 5-man recruiting class for VCU from the state of Florida. So they've taken advantage of their roots. But when you look at the starting lineup for VCU with Maynor and Shuler and Gwynn and Anderson, all Jeff Capel guys. Maynor from Fayetteville, North Carolina. Shuler from Jacksonville, North Carolina. That's an area that Jeff was familiar with. So he left a pretty good nucleus behind that Anthony Grant has built upon with some of these freshmen. Allen Edwards, 3 Final Fours, couple of national titles at Kentucky, and a good basketball playing family. His brother Doug, who played at Florida State, and Stephen, who played at the University of Miami. Timeout, John Pelfrey. As Arkansas leads this one 28-20. The O'Reilly Auto Parts Puerto Rico tip-off, our third place game coming up. Miami and Providence in the championship game. Miami with an outstanding front line. Of course, Jack McClinton is knocked down 10 of 15 from 3 this year. To ESPNU tomorrow night. That's going to be a tricky game for Tom Izzo's Michigan State team. That game's being played in Kansas City, and Mike Anderson has got about 90% of his offense back from a year ago, and Damari Carroll, his nephew, is eligible now after transferring from Vanderbilt. See the zone. And what they've done is they've forced Arkansas to stay on the perimeter as much as possible with this zone. Sonny Weems into the lane, almost had it knocked away. 5 of the shot clock. Welch. But Beverley the rebound. Loose ball. VCU comes up with it, and Rams will go the other way, down 8. Beverley averages about 6 rebounds a game from that 2-guard spot. Lance Kearse has his shot blocked, but he's fouled, and he'll go to the line. The freshman from Fort Myers, Florida, and the cousin of Javon Kearse of the Philadelphia Eagles. The freak. Javon of the Eagles getting a win today, although I'm pretty sure Javon was inactive today. Their win over the Miami Dolphins. And Lance Kearse puts that one down. Vincent Hunter, the 6'10 senior from Little Rock, Arkansas, checks in. Darian Towns will have a seat. Kearse, one of those 5 freshmen from Florida we've talked about, and we've gotten a chance to see them over 3 days, and they are in a very athletic group that's going to complement those returnees. They returned 3 starters from the team that beat Duke and lost to Pittsburgh. Anthony Grant has brought in some very promising young athletes, much like we saw at a college at Charleston's group, Bobby Kremen's team. And again, teams that at the mid-major level, their athleticism, you expect it to stand out, right? Yes, yes. And sometimes the athleticism gets neutralized versus an opponent like Arkansas, which can match it, but also has more length. Sonny Weems kicks out Gary Irvin, but no, there'll be a foul. And they got Lance Kearse on that one, I do believe. Well, John Pelfrey promised a revolving door on Sunday in terms of making sure that if you turn the ball over or make a silly decision, you're going to sit by him. This team averaged about 15 turnovers a game last year, but that's a little tricky. You know, Basketball Prospectus and Ken Pomeroy, they keep tempo-free stats, and what they did last year was they averaged a turnover every 4 possessions. And coming into this game, they're averaging a turnover every 3 possessions, and it's been a lot more manageable tonight, the 8 turnovers in the first half. Arkansas leads this one by 8. John Chomby, Fran for Shuler, 3rd place game right here from the inaugural O'Reilly Auto Parts Puerto Rico tip-off. They've been great hosts here in San Juan. All 8 teams really enjoying themselves. 2-3 zone is good for Arkansas because the size on the front line can close out to those wings quickly. Look at Hunter at 6'10". Maynor eyeing it up. And the pull-up short by Dongo. Irvin will settle it down, and they'll go slow right here, closing in a minute and a half to go in the first half. Gary Irvin, the transfer, played his first 2 years at Mississippi State.
Been around so long, he played in the Capital Classic with LeBron James coming out of high school.
Shot blocked. It'll stay Arkansas ball. 6 on the shot clock.
See, Beverley should have shot the jumper in the corner. There was no need. He created a little space. There was no need to take the ball in traffic when he could have got a good look before that.
Hunter now, do they see the shot clock? Beverley knows it. Goes right to the glass, and they get the foul. Patrick Beverley will go to the line. Karol Pishalnikov charged with the foul.
Good recognition. Shot clock running down. Watch him jump into the defender, make contact, and that'll put him on the line. There's this. Jerry Wainwright said that Patrick Beverley had the highest motor of anybody on that Team USA team this summer. Guy loves to play the game, very enthusiastic. He can score, grab some rebounds.
I said the foul was on Pishalnikov. Actually got Dongo. You mentioned Patrick Beverley, and a guy that originally verbally committed to Toledo, had a great senior year, led the state in scoring for Marshall, which those of you familiar with the movie Hoop Dreams, that's where Arthur Agee went. And I can't help but think that Bruce Weber in Champaign would love to have gotten his hands on Patrick Beverley, at least now looking back.
Well, I had dinner last night with Anthony Longstreet, who's here. He's the coach at Chicago Crane, Coach Sharon Collins. Before their season's underway, he's one of Patrick Beverley's mentors, and unfortunately Illinois has not developed those kind of relationships in Chicago. You know, Bruce Weber's a very good coach.
One note, John Pelfrey received a warning just moments ago for getting out of the coaching box, and again, bench decorum, a point of emphasis. You can straddle the coaching box line. He's right up against it, but he was warned for going out of the coaching box.
You can actually have 1 foot on the court, 1 foot in the box, and as long as you're clearly not out of the box during the action, you're okay. A couple instances in this tournament where the officials have adjudicated side. You like that word again, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Sideline decorum from the coaches, I think, pretty fairly.
I got my hands on a thesaurus before game 1, and yeah, we're all good now. Under a minute to go. John Chambi, Fran Fraschilla here in San Juan, and Arkansas, the number 18 team in the country, leading VCU by 8. Where do they go here?
Don't turn it over is the first thing. Second thing is probably Beverley would be your best guy. But what Arkansas has done is they've pick and rolled, and VCU's trapped. Let's see if they do it.
They get Pishalnikov there.
And what Pishalnikov was trying to do was push up against Hunter so that Maynor could go underneath the screen. But in pushing up against him, he pushed him off the three-point line with a little bit of excessive contact. We've seen VCU guard the pick and roll 2 different ways tonight, John. One, they've trapped it, but there they were going to choose to go under Irvin. And the big fella from Russia committed the foul.
Vincent Hunter gets that to rattle home, a 5th-year senior. Redshirted a few years ago because of a bad shoulder. And a guy at 6'10", about 230. Gained about 40 pounds since his freshman year. Makes them both, and Arkansas by 10.
VCU wants the last shot right here, and Arkansas is going to sit in that 2-3 zone. It's done a good job of walling off the inside, and it's kept Maynor's penetration under control tonight.
On the clock, and a jump ball possession arrow, Arkansas.
Well, if John Pelfrey had a defensive coordinator like they do in football, He'd be very pleased with the job that his defense has done all year. This is great recognition. VCU getting nothing in the lane tonight, and then Gary Irvin coming up with the tie-up.
Arkansas, through the first 3 games, the defense has been excellent. Taking care of the basketball has been a problem. The possession arrow was actually incorrect, and they have now corrected it, so it will stay VCU basketball in the tie-up.
2-3 zone.
Maynor going to work. Kick out. Shuler, deep shot offline. And that's that. VCU can't connect. Sonny Weems and the Razorbacks leading it by 10 as we go to the break. John Pelfrey got to be happy with the way his team has taken care of the basketball. 34-24 Arkansas at the break. We head back to the studio. Here's Pam Ward alongside Steve here at the half. Number 18 Arkansas 34-24. They lead VCU. John Shambi back with you alongside Fran Fraschilla, and John Pelfrey's team did a better job taking care of the basketball, but the defense continues to thrive for them. Outstanding defense. 5 for 20 from the field for VCU. Only 1 assist and 8 turnovers. And defense has not been an issue this year for Arkansas. They can hang their hat on these numbers because they made it very difficult for the undersized VCU team to score around the paint. Now, you mentioned that it is really the ultimate tweener team, VCU, and that's what you focus on a lot of times with a mid-major team. Front lines is 6'7", 6'7", 6'8" in that neighborhood, and that's what Anthony Grant's team has right now, and it's a big Arkansas team. More often, I like the smaller, more versatile team, but the problem is when they run up against the length of a Miami of Florida or Arkansas, they've struggled to score. Sonny Weems led the Razorbacks 10 in the first half, 2 more. And the Razorbacks on the board to start the second half. Good set play versus the zone. See how Famini didn't even think about going to the rim. He dribbled it back out. Presence of Hill inside. Stephen Hill, one of the top shot blockers in the country. Will Famini trying to find some help here. Michael Anderson, very athletic, great jumper using the left hand. And Charles Thomas fighting for it, pushing ahead, too far for Patrick Beverley and a turnover. John Pelfrey is ecstatic about the half-court defense, and he'll live with an occasional turnover as an era of commission, but they have made it nearly impossible to score around the lane the first 21 minutes. Deflected there. VCU basketball 28 on the shot clock. Razorbacks leading it by a dozen. John Pelfrey worked them hard yesterday on the off day. Yes, he did. 2 practices at least that I have heard of. Shuler in and out. Good board there. TJ Quinn grabs his miss. But he's 6'4", and he'll put his hands to the ceiling. And they get Stephon Welsh with the foul. If you think back to last year's NCAA tournament when VCU beat Duke, outside of McRoberts, Josh McRoberts inside, Duke was not an overly long or necessarily athletic team. They could match up this in-between size and their athleticism a little bit more easily, John, than they can with the length of Arkansas, particularly on the front line. Corner 3, and that one is knocked down by Jamal Shuler. Shuler, one of those garbage guys that can go inside and out. Shuler, good defensive player. Weems feed down low. Thomas the lay. Nice look, Sonny Weems. Well, I think John Pelfrey is thinking right now, this is the Sonny Weems he needs for the next 27 or 28 nights this season. Keeping it simple, just trying to hit singles. You see Famini spook now. Yeah, Will Famini undersized 6'7", 250, the native of Cameroon. And they're face guarding Maynor, not letting him get the ball. Anderson gets that 3 to go. Now this is where a tweener team is dangerous because both Shuler and Anderson can step away from the basket, but they've got to consistently make those shots. Lefty layup attempt no good by Charles Thomas. And Will Femini comes away with it. They'll push ahead Eric Maynor. Hill comes out to trap. Good look there. And the foul. Michael Anderson gets the contact from Charles Thomas. And just like that, VCU with a chance to get within 5.
This is exactly what Eric Maynor does great. Look at his head up the whole time. He draws the defense. Thomas falls asleep a little on the backside, and Maynor puts it on the money. Last year, a 3-to-1 assist-turnover ratio for Eric Maynor.
Michael Anderson, a junior from Virginia Beach, Virginia. And VCU down 5 now. They apply the pressure. Stephon Welsh with TJ Gwynn on it. Anderson trying to help, but Welsh beats it. Lob feed, slam dunk, Darian Towns.
We've seen when they've beaten the front of the press and they have the size at the back of the press, Arkansas has taken advantage of it.
Shuler kick out there. Rebound Sonny Weems. Here come the Razorbacks up 7. Weems a triple.
Watch Maynor now.
They get the carry and a turnover. And Razorbacks basketball.
Good job right here. Welch knows with the athleticism of Towns and Washington. Technical foul.
I believe they just got Anthony Grant with a technical foul.
That was coming. That has been coming. Now, here's the deal. Maynor does put his hand underneath the ball a lot. That allows you to change direction more easily. We all know that that's a point of emphasis this year. It was a relatively obvious call. You just got to, if you're Anthony Grant, you got to just zip it and let it go.
Follow slam, Darian Towns.
When we say early, John, the best pass to the big men is a shot on the rim.
Towns and the Razorbacks very active. Good look there as Gwynn finds Femini.
See, when you're a tweener, you're at that size, you can handle the ball in traffic, much like Gwynn did.
Towns, little baby hook, and that's good. Darian Towns making his presence felt. He's averaged 12 and 6 through their first 3 games, and Towns their second leading scorer coming in.
This is going to be interesting because both teams can do a good job of playing what I call rat ball. Press, make the game ugly.
Femini tips away Shuler's mitt. And now Michael Washington. Gary Irvin handling up top. He did not start.
John Welsh calling plays from the sideline. When you're not confident in your point guard play, it takes a lot out of a coach. Nice move.
Patrick Beverley, the sophomore, to the rack. And a timeout on the court. The Razorbacks leading this one by 11. And the defense to offense and the athleticism's been huge.
They've run some set plays versus the zone, which have been very effective early. And it's like we said earlier in the tournament, when you have to call every play from the sideline, it really wears a coach out. But early on, John Pelfrey in the second half has done a nice job of that.
So 15:23 to go second half. Arkansas 46-35. Back here in San Juan, number 18 team in the country leading by 11. John Shambi courtside with Jaime Vasquez Bernier, who is the acting director of the Puerto Rico Tourism Company, and it has been a great event that you put on, and all the teams have had a good time.
I'm very glad to hear that. Certainly we've been working very hard along with ESPN to bring this event here. Obviously this is part of our strategy to expand the sport tourism activity in Puerto Rico, and we do hope that this is is only the beginning of many more years to come of events of this nature here.
And part of this is you get a chance to show off your beautiful island to all the people that come down following the teams, and hopefully they'll all come back.
Exactly, and that's part of the strategy. We actually are working very hard to bring different events of sports. Actually, the people of Puerto Rico are very sport loving people, and actually it's a great event. It's a great means to bring new visitors and people to get to know us and admire and appreciate and enjoy all the different things that we do have to offer.
And this building is wonderful. You have all sorts of events here, and it is, I mean, a sparkling facility.
It's a state-of-the-art facility. It was inaugurated 2 years ago, and actually it's the only place in Puerto Rico actually to have an ice rink underneath the basketball court.
Well, thank you so much for stopping by, and a great tournament that you're putting on. Jaime Vasquez-Bernier, the acting executive director of the Puerto Rico Tourism Company here in San Juan, Arkansas, by 11. That's some great wigs here as well.
Yeah. You know, that CBE Classic is the college basketball experience, a new building that's opened up in Kansas City with some incredible college basketball history there. Got a chance to see it at Big 12 Media Day. So if you're going to Kansas City, it's a must stop on your trip.
Washington foul line jumper, but Towns gathers in the miss off his foot. Turnover, VCU ball.
Much better off shooting the open shot and then letting those big fellas just go crash the boards.
Frank Dongo, one of 2 players from Cameroon in the starting lineup, and they get him with the offensive foul. Dongo and as well Will Famini, both from Cameroon.
Famini, a transfer from Arizona State. Spent 2 years with Rob Evans, who happens to be coaching on the opposite sideline for John Pelfrey. Rob Evans, one of the great guys in college basketball, former coach at Ole Miss and Arizona State. Played for Lou Henson.
They got a foul the other way on Patrick Beverley.
This is what we talked about yesterday. It's up to the players and the coaches to adjust to the officials and not the other way around. Anytime there's a push-off on one end, like we just saw with Dongo, there's going to be another one on the other end if you're silly enough to stick your arm out.
Jamal Shuler kicks out. Maynor's been very quiet. Soft floater gets that to go.
That's his best offensive weapon right there. The shot fake to get to about 12 feet, and then the pull-up floater or short jumper. Remember, we said that the way VCU gets back into this game is probably going to have to happen on the defensive end.
Weems, a corner 3. The little guy Maynor pulls down the board. VCU down 9. Lance Kearse has his pass deflected out of bounds. Eric Maynor had 27 points and 6 assists. Only 1 turnover in their loss to the University of Miami, but very quiet so far in this one.
Part of the reason is Arkansas has utilized a 2-3 zone. It's done a good job of keeping Maynor from getting into the lane. Maynor, who also played on the Pan Am team. I had a chance to coach him last summer at Steve Nash's skills camp. Great kid.
Where does Eric Maynor stack up in the nation in terms of other point guards?
I think he's not in my elite group of 4 or 5 or 6, but he's certainly in my top 10 or top 12. What I really like about Eric Maynor, John, is he's a pure point guard. He does think pass first, score second. But if you ask me, I think he's a shade below Collison and DJ Augustine, Derrick Rose, and then depending on how you look at O.J. Mayo as a point guard or as a scoring guard. But you got guys like Tyrese Rice at Boston College, Ty Lawson, Sharon Collins. I think I'd have all slightly ahead of Maynor, but I love his playmaking ability.
Maynor last year 6.4 assists per game of returning players in the country. Only Jason Richards from Davidson and DJ Augustine from Texas averaged more assists this season ago.
If you're asking me about pro potential, the one thing that hurts him is he is not a consistent deep shooter, and he actually shoots in the low 40s from two-point range if you go back to last season. So he is a pass-first point guard, but a great leader.
Kurtz using the glass. Lance Kurtz, the 6'6" freshman, going up against Stephen Hill, the shot blocker.
See, that sets up their press now.
Welsh, though, doing a good job, finds Irvin. One-handed shot, no good, but how about Weems with the putback there? 48-40, Arkansas leading this one. Our third-place game in the inaugural O'Reilly Auto Parts Puerto Rico tip-off. Tie-up. It'll stay VCU basketball.
Talked about Sonny Weems and how much ability he has. Consistency an issue. And there, couldn't really tell if that was a pass or shot, but Weems cleaned up the mess. Both teams very, very similar. You know, if you took Maynor and put him on Arkansas, you'd really have something.
Hill with the rejection. Stephen Hill, the SEC Defensive Player of the Year last year, third all-time at Arkansas.
Climbing up the SEC ranks. I think he's 7th or 8th now. He won't catch a guy named Shaquille O'Neal. But we talked about the front line. When you have tweeners, they're dangerous when they can take big fellas away from the basket. But VCU has struggled to score in the paint consistently tonight.
Offensive foul as they get Stephon Welsh. Basket will count.
Jerry Pollard saying that Welsh released the ball before the contact, so that basket will go. And I think John Pelfrey has got to be pleased so far. His defense has been pretty good, and he's got 50 points.
Arkansas by 10 back here at the O'Reilly Auto Parts Puerto Rico tip-off. Our third-place game coming up, our championship game between Miami and Providence. Right there, Franklin Western, who played at Providence, played for Fran Fraschilla in Providence.
Yes, he did. He played on the '94 Big East championship team along with Dickie Simpkins and Michael Smith, Rob Phelps, Abdullah. Rick Barnes coached that team. He makes his home here now and is one of the legendary, I wouldn't say necessarily legendary, but one of the top players in the Superior League here on the island of Puerto Rico, former Bronx native.
Yeah, that '94 team had some New York flavor to it, huh?
Yes, it did. Rick Barnes was the coach of that team. Larry Shyatt now with Billy Donovan in Florida. So Franklin Western out here supporting his Friars.
Larry Shyatt's son, an assistant for Anthony Grant at VCU.
Razorbacks stay in that zone, John.
Arkansas has been tremendous defensively in this game. They've really limited Eric Maynor. 10 on the shot clock. Anderson to Maynor. Back to Anderson. Puts it on the floor, and he's fouled. They get Patrick Beverley with a foul. 50-40 here. 11:23 to go.
As Anthony Grant introduces these young players, the 5 freshmen from Florida, into this mix, it's going to be a very, very good Colonial team again.
They are picked second in the conference preseason behind Jim Laranaga's George Mason team,
who we'll see next week in the Old Spice against Kansas State.
The other thing worth noting is that the CEA is a mid-major, a little bit like the Missouri Valley the last couple of years. They've had an at-large team selected each of the last 2 years. So just because you don't win the tournament doesn't mean you're not going to get into the NCAAs.
Very good coaching in the CAA. Blaine Taylor at Old Dominion.
Gary Irvin ripping the 3, and Arkansas leading by 13 in San Juan. Jamal Shuler answers with a triple of his own.
This is what I love about these guys. They're struggling to score inside, but guys like Anderson and Shuler and Gwynn, all in that mid-range size, can get to the perimeter and knock you down.
Ball tipped away. Maynor comes away with it. VCU trying to cut it to single digits. They do. Another bucket for Shuler, and he's got 11.
Perfect decision by Maynor that time. 2-on-1. Made sure the defender committed and dropped it off for Shuler.
Beverley trying to step through, looking for help. And a timeout called by John Pelfrey's Arkansas Razorbacks. Down 8. Anthony Grant's team making a run. Defense to offense.
But it started with Maynor. Comes up with the steal. Now watch the decision. Nice drop off. He made sure Weems committed to the ball. And then put it right on the money. Bounce pass in transition is an easy pass to catch. And Shuler just has to get to the rim. You notice now the second time tonight that John Pelfrey has had to call a timeout from the sideline. And that's what I've been talking about, John. It's very hard to be coaching your team and being your team's point guard. Making decisions as to what plays to call, when to call timeout.
Jamal Shuler last 5 VCU points. And the Rams trail by 8.
This is a guy that was the 6th man for the Rams a year ago.
Now they lost B.A. Walker and Jesse Pellarosa. Walker, an outstanding 3-point shooter.
This might be a deeper team.
Beverley feeding Hill, and Hill will go to the line. They get Will Famini with the foul. So big Stephen Hill, the 7-foot senior from Branson, Missouri, goes to the line. Now, Hill's not the only shot blocker on this team. We mentioned that he's 3rd all-time in Arkansas history in blocks. Darian Towns, who's on the team, is 4th.
Where that comes in handy for John Pelfrey is as you extend the floor and press. It's always comforting to know that you have a shot blocker back there that can dissuade that 2-on-1. That last VCU basket came off of a steal. So there was not a shot blocker back there, but it's comforting to know you've got size back there when you're extending like they are now.
Air ball there, 9-point Arkansas advantage. Michael Anderson gives back to Eric Maynor. Mike Brown is checked into the game wearing number 32 for VCU. Anderson fouled as he goes to the rim. Now Michael Anderson will go to the line. Advanced college basketball.
All the focus on Kevin Love and O.J. Mayo in the L.A. area in terms of the great freshmen in the Pac-10. Arizona State has James Harden, who many believe was the best high school senior in the state of California last year. And Herb Sendek is really going to enjoy his offense. This will be an improved Sun Devil club with Jeff Pendergraft. Boateng from Duke is eligible now.
Seven-point game with 9:15 to go.
Now this is about where VCU turned it up on Miami. Miami had 12 turnovers in the second half on Friday.
Arkansas has done a better job taking care of the ball. 58 turnovers in their first 2 games of this tourney. But it's been better here. Urban a 3. And Famini pulls down the board in front of Darian Towns.
VCU knew exactly the play that was coming. That's what we talked about. 2 coaches who've coached against each other. Excuse me, coached with each other.
They've got numbers. The lob here and the jam, Sonny Weems.
Good decision by Gary Irvin. Had a guard in the back lines. Weems can obviously get to the top of the square.
Mike Brown. Down low, good look. Anderson can't get the bunny to go. Point blank range, and he missed it.
You almost wonder whether they've been spooked tonight because of the shot blocking ability of the Razorbacks. We've seen Famini kick it out quickly. See, they're calling. Anthony Grant is calling out Arkansas's plays right now.
Washington flying in for the board. Michael Anderson. VCU with a chance to cut into the lead. Arkansas on top by 9.
John, the zone, it's done its job. It's kept Maynor from penetrating. And it's kept the front line of VCU in check in terms of scoring.
Gary Irvin, the senior, will slow things down. The 24-year-old native of Brooklyn. Weems isolating Towns in the post. And a timeout on the court with Arkansas. It's Arkansas by 9 in our third place game. They had a coaches clinic here on Saturday. Tons of kids showing up. Fran Fraschilla, you were there with the kids. Got to work with them. Must have been fun.
It was fun. I had a chance to meet the great Butch Lee, who spoke to the kids. A legend here on the island, former Marquette Warrior. And how about this, John? All the kids got a chance to be players, like they were getting interviewed after the game. They got a chance to go into the locker room and get their picture taken behind the Puerto Rican national team jersey. And the great thing about that is how much they love basketball on the island. Carlos Arroyo, Jose Juan Barea, just some of the stars from the island that are now in the NBA. So they love boxing first, but then basketball is a close second.
All right, what did you teach them about the post-game press conference? What do they say in the post-game press conference?
Well, first of all, I felt terrible because my Spanish is not very good, but it's gotten better this week, actually.
There you go. John Pelfrey and the Razorbacks leading this one by 9. Only 14 turnovers in this one. I say only. It was such a problem for him through the first 2 games.
Well, they've played looser today, and they've shot the ball a little quicker than they have. And I almost think the strategy is, hey, the first good look we get, let's shoot it, and let's just go crash the boards.
Charles Thomas checks in. Michael Washington will sit down. VCU ball. All right, now what does VCU do to try and get some offense here?
Well, unfortunately for them, their best offense usually has come at the hands of their defense, but because Arkansas has not turned it all that much, there haven't been opportunities to do that. Arkansas has made it very tough for VCU to score both inside, and they've had to live and die with the 3.
That was a deep 3. Good rebound by Mike Brown. Wanders in, and it's swatted away by Darian Towns. Beverley off the glass. The block charge to Maynor, and Beverley will go to the line for 2.
Beverley is such a smart player. He knows there's no way the defender can cut him off, so he's going to initiate the contact and force the foul. Very cerebral guy, along with the athletic ability and talent. Has a real enthusiasm for the game. We mentioned his mentor, Anthony Longstreet, down here, Coach Chicago Crane. Talked to him about Sharon Collins. He said that he should be back in early January, but Bill Self's not going to rush him. They want to make sure he's completely healthy. He has a pin in his foot. Brandon Rush is back now, so Jayhawks should be in pretty good shape. They'll hold the fort down with that depth in the backcourt.
Razorbacks leading by 11.
See, 2-2-1 press. It's been very soft. They float back into the 2-3 zone, and they're forcing VCU to make jump shots.
Mike Brown, one of their Florida freshmen, checking into the game. Maynor into the lane. Runner no good. How about Anderson? Work on the glass, and he goes to the line.
Anderson, Shuler, and Gwynn are such quick jumpers that they'll give a normal-sized team a lot of trouble during the season, but they haven't been as effective tonight.
Anderson, a 6'7" junior from Virginia Beach. VCU last year beating Duke on the Maynor jumper in the first round of the NCAA tournament with 1.8 seconds left, and then they lost in overtime to Pittsburgh. A furious comeback in that second round game, and they almost pulled off another upset.
Well, the way they play with the frenetic pressure, it's just like the Miami game the other night. They almost fought their way back into that game. They're never really out of games. That's why an 11-point lead is still precarious with 6 minutes to go.
Stephon Welsh, the sophomore from Newport News, Virginia. He got the start. He holds the basketball right here, and the sophomore's done a pretty good job in this game. Darian Towns, spin move. And Anderson the board for VCU. Here comes Maynor and the Rams.
See, he's got to shoot that. Maynor put it right on Rodriguez's hands. The bench kicked back as to say, freshman, put that ball up, because you're not going to get that many open looks.
Pass deflected. Shuler out to Maynor for a triple. Good look down low. Two-handed flush, Michael Anderson.
Now this is only 8, and here comes the pressure.
Timeout called by Arkansas. The Rams trying to make a run right here.
They got the long rebound. Maynor, you think he's going to run a little clock, but he found Anderson underneath the rim. See the new shot clock now as Rodriguez pokes it free. Great one-hand pass by Eric Maynor. We talked about tournaments like this in November. Sure, the games are important, but they actually magnify in importance when you think to back down the road to mid-March, and the tournament committee is sitting in Indianapolis trying to decipher how good a win over Arkansas or Miami might be.
Thomas running the baseline. Charles Thomas handling and pushes it into the front court. John Pelfrey's team slowing it down a bit. Closing in on the 5-minute mark.
Oh boy.
Pass deflected. Jamal Shuler. Shuler hit hard. And Shuler will go to the line.
Now, that's about as hard as you can hit somebody without being an intentional foul. It's very close here. There's the steal. Now watch Thomas. He's going to lay wood to him. And I'm telling you, that is right on the borderline of being an intentional foul.
If they had called it intentional there, would you have been surprised?
Not at all.
Shuler makes the first. It's a 7-point game.
The rule is you must play the ball, but it also cannot be excessive contact.
And that was right there towing the line. Shuler, very good shooter. Makes 1 for 2. So Arkansas up 7 with the basketball, and Gary Irvin, the senior point guard, will slowly move it ahead.
It's one of those situations I used to put my team in. Okay, you're up 7 with 5 to go. Now manage the clock, but you can't put it on ice. So let's see what Arkansas does in terms of handling the ball.
They got Michael Anderson with the bump. And it's 1-1. That's out of bounds. I beg your pardon.
John, they've been trying to squeeze the screener all night, which means that Anderson's supposed to come right up against his man so that the guard can go underneath the screen. But that's twice now there's been hard contact and then the foul call. See, I'd like to have Beverley with the basketball now.
Sonny Weems has had a good game.
Watch how they play the screen up high, because that's their end of shot clock play.
Weems with a hand in his face, but Washington pulls down the miss. And they get another foul on Michael Anderson.
Fortunate for Arkansas, because Weems shot the contested shot. But that front line has been a thorn in Anthony Grant's side all night, the size of Arkansas.
Well, what did John Pelfrey say? A revolving door here tonight. And we've seen a number of players getting minutes.
Remember in that 67-51 loss to Providence, the 32 turnovers, he said, it's the most unenjoyable thing I've ever been associated with as a coach. Because seemingly every other time down, they were throwing the ball away. So this is a little bit better performance tonight.
Washington making the first, missing the second. And they'll have Rodriguez give off to Maynor. Now Famini. And a timeout called by Anthony Grant. 59-51. All right, from here forward, Anthony Grant, he has his team together and says what to them?
Well, here's what he's doing right now. He knows Arkansas has been in a zone for most of this game, so he wants to make sure with 24 on the clock that he can design something to get exactly what he wants. Now, if you're John Pelfrey, do you change defenses? Probably not. When teams play zone for two reasons. Either they think they can't handle you inside, or they think you can't shoot it. That's why when you run zone offense, you take the heart out of the defense when you can design something to get the ball inside and get an easy basket. But it's not as easy as it looks because of the size of Arkansas.
Because, as you mentioned, their big guys can get out to the corners and close on shooters, right?
As well as contest shots in the lane. But if you got something tricky right here where you screen the zone somewhere, you may get something easy inside.
Shuler up top, Jamal Shuler, the senior. And the freshman Joey Rodriguez getting significant minutes down the stretch. This is Rodriguez. Maynor puts it on the floor. Little runner is good. Nice shot, Eric Maynor.
He's got that shot down. You're a guy his size. You need that in your repertoire so that you can pull up before the shot blocker can affect your shot.
Shuler harassing Irvin. They look to milk some clock right here.
This is a critical time for Arkansas to take care of the basketball and get good shots.
Beverley trying to step through and find somebody. He finds Irvin. 5 on the shot clock. Foot on the line. Irvin nails the jumper.
Gary Irvin averaged about 30 points a game as a senior at Paul Robeson. Pretty confident looking shooter.
Shuler bluffing the three. VCU resets here. 11 on the shot clock, deep three, and Shuler can't get it to go. How about the work by Joey Rodriguez, a little guy fighting for the rebound. 61-53, Razorbacks lead this one. Now 61-53, our score in San Juan, our third place game coming up after this one. Providence and Miami for the championship of the inaugural O'Reilly Auto Parts Puerto Rico tip-off. And oh, gotta love the iPhone. Absolutely. Now VCU's hung in this game second half. They've done a better job taking care of the ball. And the Rams, well, they've shot the ball better.
They have, and it's one of the reasons the defense has probably trumped offenses tonight is these two guys know each other as well as probably any two coaches could. They're almost like brothers. They spent 7 years together with Billy Donovan starting in 1995 at Marshall. Very close. Spent many a morning, early morning, playing 3-on-3, recruiting, coaching, and on to Florida.
Talked with Billy Donovan earlier in the broadcast, and there's some of his disciples, 2 of them in the building here.
This is a critical 2.5 minutes for Arkansas.
Good hands there by Shuler, deflected out of bounds. It'll stay Razorbacks basketball.
After the 32 turnovers against Providence, they've done a better job tonight, but it all is for naught if they don't close this Ram team out.
How about Joey Rodriguez, the freshman, into the game at a crucial time?
Well, he's given Anthony Grant solid minutes in all 3 games. This got some big young guys. Eric Maynor claiming that Charles Thomas bounced him in to Beverley. No.
What'd you think?
No, I thought he was fighting through the screen. He knocked Beverley over. As long as Thomas comes to a stop, it's Maynor's job to avoid the screen, and that's exactly what Jerry Pollard is discussing with the with the junior from Fayetteville.
Anthony Grant asking why the foul. Beverley's first is good. He's their leading returning scorer. John Pelfrey pumped up. He is intense. Here in San Juan, Puerto Rico, number 18 Arkansas taking on VCU and leading this one by 7. Coliseo to Puerto Rico. John Shambi alongside Fran Fraschilla. Our championship game coming up between Miami and Providence.
And John Pelfrey trying to restore the great tradition of Arkansas Razorback basketball.
Beverley with a big rebound, goes to the deck but shoves it off to Thomas.
Smart move. He kept his dribble.
Maynor rolling it ahead for Rodriguez. And they get Patrick Beverley.
At this point in the season, and they will get better, Arkansas, but no lead is safe because of the inability to take care of the basketball. You see Weems, he's not even double teamed. Maynor just pokes it free.
Big miss there for Rodriguez. VCU down 8. The other thing is well coached for Arkansas, executing in the half court, not their specialty when they're trying to milk the clock.
That's right. Early in this game, they got the lead because they sped the tempo up. Now watch the double teams come.
Good work by Irvin as Thomas hands it back to the point guard. Coming up on 90 seconds to go in this one. And a timeout for John Pelfrey.
That's the 4th timeout that John Pelfrey has called from the sideline when his team has been in trouble via the double team. That's what we talked about. He's got to coach every pass of every possession. And I know, John, having coached a team without great guard play, it wears on you mentally as a coach because everybody would love to have a DJ Augustine or Darren Collison because no matter what you run, your team looks well coached.
And you feel like you're coaching, you said, every pass.
Every
right?
pass, absolutely. And we know John Pelfrey is a heck of a young coach, and his team plays hard. But when you don't have solid ball movement from your guard spot, it makes you look like you don't know what you're doing.
The 3 main guards that they play, Beverley, Welsh, and Irvin. Beverley and Welsh, neither of whom are point guards.
Right.
They're really off guards. Irvin is a point guard, but he turns it over some.
And Beverley has the most basketball savvy, but when you have your shooting guard running the team, then he's no longer thinking about his own offense.
And he's their best scorer. Well, Charles Thomas, good look down low. Darian Towns, and the foul. Big play there.
Excellent play by Thomas. Once you throw the ball out of the double team, it becomes a 4-on-3 everywhere else on the floor. And Thomas with a good chest pass. Towns uses the other side of the rim to ward off the shot blocker and allows him to finish.
Michael Anderson will come back in. He's got 4 fouls. Will Famini sits. Towns a chance to make it a 6-point advantage. But he can't.
Now, if you're VCU, you're going to have to shoot quick, just like that.
Long 3. And Irvin pushing ahead.
Pull it out. Pull it out.
Irvin able to dish it off to Beverley. And they get Patrick Beverley with a carry. John Pelfrey can't believe it.
And Jerry Pollard looked at him and held back.
So Beverley the turnover, a 9-point game, 1:01 to go.
Let's take a look if that hand comes underneath the ball. Hard to see from that angle, but hand must stay on top of the basketball. Another point of emphasis this season is the palming violation.
And the palming violation and the coaching box. And
Yes.
Pelfrey's already been warned on the coaching box.
See the ball come to rest right there. That is a carry. And the reason it's called, and Beverley gained no advantage there, but a lot of players use the ball coming to rest to change direction. And it puts the defense at a disadvantage. And it's a point of emphasis again this year, so the players must adjust.
So under a minute to go. And VCU down 9. Got to get it going here.
And have to shoot it quick.
Anderson down low. Layup is good. 7-point game. Irvin being harassed. And a block called. They get Lance Kearse on the foul.
Look at Arkansas' schedule, John. They still have to go to Oklahoma. And they've got Missouri coming in to the Bud Walton Arena. Oral Roberts, Missouri State. Don't want to sleep on Northwestern State as well. Mike McConaughey's club, team that knocked off Iowa 2 years ago in the NCAA tournament.
Coming up on ESPN2, Pam Ward, Steve Lavin. College Game Night presented by Pizza Hut. That's at the conclusion of our game.
You see that suit that Steve had on? He's in mid-season form already. He's breaking out his good stuff in November.
Left-handed jump hook by Anderson goes down, and again it's a 7-point game.
Well, we talked about this early in the tournament. Every team has a comeback game, and that includes putting the pressure on, trapping right away. If you don't trap, you foul. Now you must know what you're going to do off the made or miss free throw down at this end of the floor, and that's why you practice these situations.
Irvin hits the free throw.
Used to put my team in a down 8, 3 minutes to go situation about 3 or 4 days a week in practice, so the players could understand who to foul, when to foul, where to foul, and then how to score quickly.
Big gather and a miss as Gary Irvin gets the putback of the free throw, and Anthony Grant can only shake his head.
And say goodbye to the comeback game.
That's the dagger, as now Arkansas leads by 10. VCU's got to get a 3 up immediately. And a turnover. It'll be Arkansas basketball. 13 seconds to go in this one. And let's not forget, coming up, the championship game from the inaugural O'Reilly Auto Parts Puerto Rico tip-off. Miami and Providence would be a good one.
Well, credit Arkansas because they jumped on the Rams from the early moments of this game. Played with great enthusiasm. Outstanding defense.
So the Razorbacks able to hang on and pick up the win. 70-60 the final score here in San Juan. John Pelfrey's team gets the win over his buddy Anthony Grant and the VCU Rams. For Fran Frischel and our entire ESPN2 crew, this is John Shambi saying so long from San Juan, Puerto Rico. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. Now back to the studio. Pam Ward and Steve